Hey everyone, and welcome to this saith 2.5 channel. If this is your first time, welcome, and if this is not your first time, welcome back. I hope everyone's having a great week. So, Kung Fu Panda 4. I remember making a video that was focused on the Chameleon, and the video was basically covering my thoughts on her and why I felt that she could be a major flop for the franchise, and I was right. Now, I'm not specifically blaming her for Kung Fu Panda 4 being so mediocre, but I do feel like she played a huge part in this, when we compare the past 3 installments of the franchise to this particular one. You have a lot of deficiencies, a lot of discrepancies with the formula that was being used to make Kung Fu Panda 4's screenplay. It's a DreamWorks movie. You need heart-wrenching backstories, emotional turmoil with the main character. You need a justifiable villain, a strong goal and motivations for your main character and sometimes for your villain. And we had absolutely none of this when it came to Kung Fu Panda 4. Now, it was early last year I heard about preparations to release the 4th installment of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, and honestly speaking, my first thought was, how are they going to flesh out a new part of Po that we haven't seen before? Po is a very well fleshed out character, and his characterization has been built upon so many different times. So basically, he's a character that we are well acclimatized to. With the 3rd installment of the Kung Fu Panda franchise, you had Po reach the pinnacle of what this character can be. That was the biggest obstacle I felt the screenwriters could have with this character. What could you add to Po, or what obstacle could you give Po that would not look like a plagiarized version of the last 3 installments? And ladies and gentlemen, the screenwriters for Kung Fu Panda 4 failed to add anything to Po as a character. Okay, before we go on, please do consider subscribing and liking the video if you're enjoying the video. Thank you for your support, and let's get back into it. Po's biggest obstacle in the past 3 installments has always been himself. Trying to find himself, trying to see where he fits in, trying to come to terms with what people have done to him. This always gives a sense of stake or gravitas to the character, because Po is not just facing a villain, but he's also searching to overcome his inner obstacles while facing the villains. With the 4th installment, Po has reached the peak of his characterization. So what they decided to do was to create another bar where he has to become the spiritual leader. All of that is good, but what they failed to do was really shine light on that inner struggle that Po faces in order to become this spiritual leader. This is not shined upon at all. The only time that I think I remember that Po is supposed to become a spiritual leader is when he, gives these one-liner advices that doesn't really make any sense. And I go, oh, he's supposed to be the spiritual leader. Po is not an emotional character on the outside. He's not Puss or Quasimodo, who literally on screen show their emotional turmoil. He's just a panda who likes to have fun and make people laugh. But one thing the past 3 movies have, been slightly successful at is really bringing out the emotional side of Po and making it the forefront of the story. The inner turmoil of this character wasn't shown in any way at all. This really put a lot of pressure on the villain to maybe stand out and carry the movie. A lot of people might feel like it's not possible for a villain to maybe carry a movie alone. In my opinion, I feel like it's possible. With movies like Sleeping Beauty, Maleficent really carried the movie, even though she wasn't always on screen. Whenever she's on screen, she seems to really take over and portray that sense of evil that we're supposed to feel with a villain. Even with The Incredibles, you had Syndrome being an absolute menace, more with his backstory, more with the expositions that linked him with the main characters. All of these are examples where the villains stand out and shine. So it's not impossible for a villain to carry a movie. But unfortunately, the Chameleon fell flat with that too. And I'll give 3 reasons why she wasn't well characterized compared to her predecessors. Number 1 is there was no link between her and Po. Personally, I feel like this is not an issue if you're talking about another animated movie. It's not a must for the villains to have a strong dynamic with their main character. But the Kung Fu Panda franchise prides itself in having the most befitting dynamic between between their villain and their main character. There is a reason why when you call the top 10 best animated villains, you see Shen, Tai Lung, or sometimes Kai. This isn't just because they inflict a sense of eeriness or evil whenever they're on screen, but this is also as a result of how strongly they tie in well with Po, be it though their backstories or their motivations or their goals. Tai Lung wanted to be the dragon warrior, Shen deleted Po's mother, Kai was obsessed with destroying all that Oogway built, as a result also Po. You know, with the Chameleon, this is just a character that popped out of nowhere to be a villain. She has no exposition that connects her to Po. What she wants is the Staff of Wisdom, which will give her access to the spirit realm and in turn make her to gain Kung Fu. Her motivation for doing this is no master took her in to learn Kung Fu as a result of her being so small. And I don't really get this because, you know, Mantis is a very strong master and he's also very small, so I don't really get this as a leading motivation for a DreamWorks villain. And that leads us to the second reason: there is no real motivation. The Chameleon's motivation is one that is set off screen. There is no true indication of a real reason why she does what she does, unlike Tai Lung, Shen, and Kai, whose motivations were clearly fleshed out and, you know, kind of explained to the audience, which gives a feeling of justification to that particular character. This villain has nothing, you know, on Shen's backstory, on Shen's motivation, or on Tai Lung's motivation or Tai Lung's obstacles. I think the only villain she comes close to is Kai, though his motivation was fleshed out, but his doesn't really connect to Po or intertwine with Po as much. So in my opinion, the Chameleon had no real motivation to do what she does. Now, I will say this: if this wasn't a Kung Fu Panda franchise related movie, I would have probably said that a villain does not necessarily need to have a strong motivation. Death is an example. He's a well-beloved villain, but his motivation is not really clearly spelled out. You know, the main justification for his motivation is his name and his characterization, which is to be Death. Now, the final reason is this scene was disrespectful. In a sense, disrespectful because what they did was to prove to the audience that she is stronger than all of the past three villains. That was the main selling point of this scene. The screenwriters could have made another route where she gains Kung Fu or she gains the strongest level of Kung Fu, but they decided, oh, why not she absorb all the former masters just so as to prove to the audience that she's supposed to be the strongest character Po has ever faced. I don't know why, I just see it as disrespectful. It kind of jeopardizes the way I see Tai Lung, Shen, or Kai in a sense. So yeah, basically I really disliked the Chameleon as a villain, and I felt that the screenwriters did not do a good job in constructing the character and interweaving her with the screenplay, knowing that this is a Kung Fu Panda movie and she is a Kung Fu Panda villain. Okay, that's the end of the video. Hope everyone loved it. I hope everyone enjoyed the commentary. This is not a positive video, unfortunately. Normally I like to make somewhat positive videos, but it's not positive. I'm mainly focusing on the negatives. I think the last video I did like this was I think was it Wish? Yeah, Wish. Although, yeah, Wish. Yeah. So that's it. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to the video. If you haven't liked the video, please do like the video. God loves you and I love you too. Bye bye.